Good morning, she is Agustina Mildenberger and I am Elías Ramel. We are studying civil engineering at UTN Paraná, and we did this paper for English 2 subject. On the way to a smart city, the applicative analysis of the process in Latin America. The notion of smart city to address the problem with urbanization in the world come as the way forward. It isn't a show for a few because it implies social, government, and industrial collaboration. This topic is related with United Nations 2030 Agenda, Sustainable Development Goals, number 11, and with the National Academy of Engineering Challenge, number 6. This global framework provides the elements that are fundamental when it comes to being or becoming to a smart city. But it is interesting to analyze what would happen if they elements were applied in Latin America.
The situation in many of the countries of Latin America is well known, and also are the shortcomings that many countries have. So more than necessary, it becomes urgent to take new directions in terms of sustainability and resilient constructions and urbanization in terms of development and progress for each city. In our presentation, we have the purpose of trying to provide a general analysis of a smart city as a constructive process, because we are going to detail the key elements that a smart city must have to be one, and that's why we organize the presentation with a map and 3 principal parts, where the first one are the foundations that include that key elements, that are 5. Then we have the operation and construction, that is the global working of these key elements together. And then the route, that is the construction that we made to the final of the presentation, applied to a study case, that is smart Latin American cities like Rio de Janeiro, Buenos Aires.
Okay, but what is a smart city? As Cora and Fernandez indicate, smart city is a territory with a great capacity for learning, innovate, and creativity. Where there are research and development institutions with digital infrastructure and communication technologies. A smart city can be called a social capital and sustainable development, and the citizen participate in the certain of governance. It's very important for this. Now these are the key elements that a smart city needs. Information and communication technologies, efficient urban and construction planning,
then the improvement of environmental sustainability, then sustainable urban mobility and transport, and then open data. Now we are presenting the first key element, information and communication technologies, that is also called ICT, that stands for that word. First, we need to talk about the ICT like a general term that doesn't need further justification. It's hard to think of someone who doesn't use internet to communicate, to investigate, or to do something. So in this sense, we can think either in cities that are not connected with the world in a globalized world. So we need to know that smart cities respond to big ICT plans where they follow base strategies in order to achieve objectives and different goals. But these are all processes that are about transforming behaviors and social structures to make them all interrelated and intelligent. And other processes are improving their energy use, anticipating and acting on climate change, and others. Definitely, the ICT applications are now in the actuality the new model for municipal cooperation and cooperation between government and corporations.
Okay, the efficient urban and construction planning. Urban planning demands a coordinated approach among administrative, social. Therefore, efficient will be only achieved with combined efforts, perseverance, methods, and organization. And it is a project that both social, economic, and environment sustainably. Including local development systems, participation, nature recurse convention, and urban metabolism. That is key, which is a key concept to develop. There is an extensive need to quantify the aspects of consumption and waste production of urbanization area. Cities are presuming like ecosystem and aggregation of various metabolisms.
Now we have the third element that we call improvement of environmental sustainability, and it is based on green smart cities that know the value of the energy and they know that they can waste it or not be conscious about its use. So a green smart city upgrades the quality of life of their inhabitants and citizens, and the way of measuring this green or how green is a city is by observing its indicators like carbon footprint, water footprint, ecological footprint, and this is measured in global levels under the guidelines of the World Health Organization or the United Nations. And in this case, we are going to analyze a graphic that is under the guidelines of the World Health Organization that is about the parameter or an indicator of availability and quality of green spaces. We have in the left the city of Curitiba, Brazil, with a value of 52 points, and in the far right we have Buenos Aires, Argentina, with a 3. So we can see a big difference, and also we can see a vertical orange line in the center, and it indicates the recommendation of the World Health Organization that is 9 square meters per person. So from that line to the left, the countries or the cities are very better in this way than the ones that are from the line to the right. And the main objective is to generate harmony in this situation about the energy, about the retroalimentation between population and these things like energy or recycling or different indicators. So a rhythm needs to be hand by hand with the population growth too. So if green spaces in this example are not created as the population grows in the same rhythm, there is a serious problem that it's going to be addressed.
Okay, now I talk about sustainable urban mobility and transport. Transportation greatly influence sustainability and quality of the cities, of the life of cities. For this reason, it's important do good planning considering the social, economic, political, and technological perspectives. There are four main groups of strategy according to reduction of the need for motorized transportation, reduction of emission, potentialization of use of alternative transportation, development of clean transportation system, vehicles with low emission and use of alternative fuels, and the last one, improvement of transport efficiently, reduction of environmental impacts, from control of vehicular flows, organization and management of traffic. Based on this strategy, different countries can carry out an adequate planning for that.
And now we are on the key element number 5, or number E, that is, and the last one, that is open data, that we call OD, and we call OG, open governance. So we, in open data, we think investigating that is probably one of the less known elements, but it's one of the principal ones, because smart city needs an easy access to information for everyone who needs to see it, citizens, politicians, investors. So it's a typical concept, the open data, because it promotes creation of plans or complementary services, and absolutely it's a concept that is absolutely typical of open government's role, because these kind of governments are transparent in their information and in the sharing of that information. So they always seek to generate an environment where the people, all the actors can intertwine and can participate, can invest, can propose, can discuss, among other activities. And this is why in this section we talk about two concepts that are free access and feedback, and political role. The free access and feedback, we have the main idea that creating OD ecosystems, because the user is capable of adapting and acting into programs or systems that are created with that purpose. So the open data and the open governments looks for dynamic feedback loops where all works together in a rhythm, in a good retroalimentation and feedback.
By the other part, political role must cover in order to be an open government. Transparency in action and execution, accessibility of all data, and active listening towards citizens and involvement, including all participants. Now we are talking to the construction and operation of a smart city. It's an indispensable and indisputable requirement that the key elements work in a coordination manner to achieve the efficiency. For this reason, we did the smart management and global working of the key elements. These key elements forms or compose 6 dimensions. These are smart economy, smart mobility, smart environment, smart people, smart living, and smart government. And this led as well to a clear perspective. There isn't a smart city without a smart people.
Yes, and for the last part of this part, we can say that beyond presenting all these key elements, you cannot be a smart city. You need to make a big process that is a continuous process, because you need to make an adaptation and or conversion maybe in a smart city, and owning the key elements or presenting them is not necessary. You need to encompass their functioning and also do it in a correct way in order to be better and become smarter and smarter. For the next part, we have the root. Now we already explained the foundations, we explained the construction, we explained the operation, and we are talking about the build of the work, that is, in this case, the root. The root is constructed, but it needs to be traveled. So we know that smart cities always represent process, that is a big one, that is a continuous process. So they not only require physical urban, but also organizational and economic infrastructure. And it is a global process because of the globalization, but it varies around the world, around the countries, around the continents, around the cities, and many aspects. But we can make a relation where population, infrastructure, and city are playing around. That is, if the population grows, the infrastructure grows, and then the city grows. But many cities in Latin America, that is our study case, follow the urbanization trends, and this doesn't mean that they are smart or that they are growing. So we can affirm that this is an indicator to talk about how smart is a city only by its population.
Okay, smart cities in Latin America requires the intervention of 3 groups of actors: technology companies, multilateral organizations, and urban governments. The first one needs a technological solution to address urban problems, solving them and seeking to improve quality of life and reduce costs, where companies represent themselves through campaigns and justify necessary investors. By the other part, multilateral organizations, United Nations, through the well-known intervention and studies already mentioned, the goals and the challenge, and others such as the World Bank and the International American Development Bank that provide financing as well as technical assistance in pursuit of development. And the last one, urban government, represent the real decision makers because they are the ones who define the strategy. Now we discuss or explain if it's the same to make a smart city in Latin America as in the other region of the world. We see as Kazakh have state with problems of poverty, crime, and lack of access, Latin American cities face a much greater challenge than their countries from the other regions of the world. Design smart city projects. Large cities such as Buenos Aires, Medellin, and Rio de Janeiro are making budgetary efforts to modernize both their urban infrastructure and the service they provide to citizens, from smart traffic lights to improve mobility and the installation of surveillance cameras to improve the public safety.
Well, and how it has been stated by Elías in the last part, we can think about that this confirms that in Latin America the differences are very important and really visible. So in LA the context is a bit complicated, but also is variable from city to city. For example, we can analyze the internet access parameter only in Latin America and the Caribbean, and we know statistically that 1 in 2 people does not have access of any kind in this area. But within LA, there are great differences between, for example, Cuba and Argentina. While in Argentina, almost the 60% of the population has access, in Cuba, it doesn't reach the 10%, and this is practically an unthinkable situation if you want to be smart and the population doesn't even have access to internet, because you can even think of ICT or open data or open government, and for Cuba it's really a problem. So with the fundamental role of technology, it's important to analyze many parameters like this one.
Okay, these are examples of cities that are becoming cleaner, efficient innovation in Latin America. These are Santiago, Chile, México, Bogotá, Colombia, Buenos Aires, Argentina, Río de Janeiro, Brasil, Curitiba, Brasil, Medellín, Colombia, y Montevideo, Uruguay. As an example, Rio de Janeiro can be analyzed as a smart city from the beginnings to observe the starting and the current point, also considering the pass of time. The foundation that helped Rio de Janeiro in the conversion to a smart city appeared in 2010 with the inversion of 2 famous technologies companies, an operation center called the Rio Operation Center, where it provides traffic surveillance, security, weather forecasting, and electricity and gas providers. Also, it achieves a total physical and virtual union of the city and what's happened to the city.
After creating this center, a few years later, Rio de Janeiro won an international recognition as one of the 7 most important and relevant smart cities in all the world by its important growth in a few years. So we can say that the city, presenting the already called key elements, knew how to make them function together, and that was because of the intervention of the IDB and really the COR, the Center of Operations of Rio, was the backbone of its growth. And this means that the context of Rio de Janeiro was really suitable to expand the technologies and expand the strategies that the organizations and corporations suggest, but it couldn't be possible if they wouldn't intertwine to achieve the operational and functional rhythm that it currently has, the center and the functioning of all together. And also, despite the positive aspects of the center, it's important to say that Rio de Janeiro has challenges, rather shortcomings that it needs to confront, that are, for example, controlling cybersecurity or developing strategic plans where they can detect errors and correct them in a timely manner way so they can fix them. And also they work with digital technologies, they make simulations related to the weather or the forecasting and other activities.
Okay, all in all, becomes really clear that political and business factors is quite important, but economic isn't less important, because if you have a good political factor or business that centers of technologies, if you don't have a capital economic, you don't or you aren't going to become a smart city. Other example is Buenos Aires, that is a city that has all the skills and elements to become smart and already acts in the search of it. For example, Buenos Aires gives positive steps in terms of contraction for urban growth, promotion of green transport, measurement of traffic for its intelligence improvement, among other things. But Buenos Aires needs a significant investment in ICT, like Rio, the center, the Rio
Operation
Center, to see a growth faster and smarter transformation world.
Well, all that has been said only means that a city, the only means that needs to have to be smart or to become smart is to have the set of key elements that correctly prioritized by politicians, governments, and with the citizen participation reach harmony and reach a good rhythm of development. This is why we can state that a city can be smart only starting with a project, with resources, and with well-executed strategies. And obviously, it needs smart people, that is the actors that we mentioned, like investors, citizens, and politicians. And according to the key elements that the city have, also the city itself will become more or less smart according to dimensions that the key elements allow her to create. So the key, we can say that always is going to be in the smart people of the city and the actors. They are going to make decisions, to act, to participate, or to intervene in different aspects, and it will become that actions or that executions are the ones that are going to be a reality that the people will see, and it's going to be seen in all the city when it starts to be smart or starts to grow. that's the idea that the smart cities always try to extend.
Okay, as a conclusion, it's clear that all of the key elements are parts of processes that generate different kind of dimension. It is important to clarify that isn't the same process for all the countries in Latin America for equal.
Yes, and despite the infrastructure development and technological advances in Latin American cities, one of the biggest challenges revolves around the political role, because the political role defines the actions or the tasks that are going to be developed, but all the transparency that an open government needs to work and that is expected from an OG is confused with high levels of corruption that we can see in Latin America in most of the countries, and is really understood after all this exposition that the corruption isn't an option in smart cities.
So it's clear that there isn't smart city if there isn't smart people.
Now we are going to show our references. Here we have the number 1 to the number 5. And here we have the number 6 to the number 12. And finally, the number 13 to the number 16. And that's the end.
Thank you.
Thank you for your attention.